This is going to be a demonstration for a piece of software I wrote. We'll place this in the folder that we would like to install our Rust server in. So we've got an empty folder here. I'll go and open this up. And it gives us 5 options and exit. We can create a Rust server, wipe a Rust server, update an existing Rust server, create an auto-wiping file for an existing Rust server, and create an auto-updating file for Umod plugins. So we're going to start off by creating a server. And we can choose modded or vanilla. I'm going to choose modded. The first thing it does is it starts downloading Steam command. You can see that file's being created there, or that folder. Once that finishes, it will start to install the Rust dedicated server files in the Steam apps folder. And once it verifies the files, it'll start to download Umod. Extracts Umod, and then we get this screen here. And you can see all these new files and folders that have been placed here in our server folder. So for this demonstration, it asks for a server name. I'm going to put Rust test server. It asks for a server identity. The default is my underscore server underscore identity. I'm just going to use test. This is the folder for where all the server files go. It asks for a server URL. You can skip this if you don't have a website, or you can enter one manually. I'll use google.com. If you'd like a banner to display on the game's server search page, you can enter that in, or you can skip this. If you want to enter one in, it tells you the requirements for the pixels and the extension. I'll use that example. It asks for the server IP. You can manually enter that in. I'll use the default of all zeros. Server port. I'll manually enter one in. Archon IP. I'll use the default. Archon port. I will manually enter one in as well. It asks for a password. If you leave it blank, it will reject it. You need to have a password in there. I'll use the word password. For the Rust app port, I'll manually enter one in. Currently, the software does not support custom maps. So for this, I'll choose procedural, but it also lists the other ones available. For the server seed, you can use a random seed, and it will generate a 6-digit number at random and use that as your seed number. Or if there's a seed you'd like, you can manually enter one in. And I'll go ahead and put in 8 digits. You'll see that nextseed.txt has generated here, and in that file we have the seed number that we placed in there. We'll come back to that later. It asks about the world size. I'm going to manually enter the world size of 2000. Otherwise, you can use a default size by selecting option number 1. Max number of players on the server, I'll use 10. You want radiation, I'll say yes. Then it goes through a series of server tags that you can add. I'm going to choose a weekly tag. This is not a vanilla server, it's modded, so I'm going to skip this. I'm going to skip several of the other ones. And I'm going to select build server. Then it asks for a server description. If you want to enter in a description here, it explains that this is going to be one line of text, to use /n if you want it to drop down lines. So for example, I've got mods : 2 of the /n's auto doors, and what that creates is it produces this in your server description in the game. It'll say mods and it'll drop down to and then auto doors. If you want to put in characters like this here, you're going to need to use the caret symbol. And then it has another requirement here. If you're going to place a %, you're going to need to use 2 of them. I'm not going to manually enter in a description here, so I'll just hit enter. It'll bring me back, and I'll choose skip. And then it asks if you'd like to update your server files and or Umod when your server reboots. So what this means is that every time your server restarts, not when it wipes, but when it restarts, you want it to update Rust or Umod. And there's 4 options here. I'm going to choose to have it update Rust and Umod every time that the server reboots. It checks for an existing server and deletes it. It creates a new one, and we'll see the Start.bat file here. We'll go ahead and open that up, and you can see it starts updating Rust. It'll update Umod, and then it will start the server. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this while we continue through the software. So we've already created a server, and if the server was needed to be wiped, we could manually do it here. Or if we wanted to update it, we could do that here as well. But what I like about this is the auto-wiping file. So we're going to go ahead and create that now while servers coming online. So we're going to create an auto-wiping file, and it says it's going to be based on our current server settings, which we've already inputted those. And that when this file is executed, it will kill the server, it'll wipe all data, it'll change the seed, and then Rust will update and the new server will start, all in one. So it just asks if we're creating an auto wipe file for a vanilla or modded server. Ours is modded. And now we have, it says check your directory for AutoWipe.bat. It's right there. We'll continue. And it says to check our directory for Steam update checker.bat. And that's right there. And then the last thing in here is to create an auto updating file for Umod plugins. So we're going to go ahead and create that. And it says to check for update mods.bat. And that's right there now. Now we can go ahead and exit the software. And the next thing I'm going to show you is the update mods.bat. So let's put a couple of mods in here. Go here to our plugins file. We're going to paste in these 3 mods: auto doors, backpacks, and clans. All of these are available on Umod for free. And just as a reminder, This is only currently set up to check Umod for updates on those plugins. So the first time we open it, it's going to read the plugins we have installed, and it's going to ask us if we want to add it to our AutoUpdate list. So what it's meaning, or what it's asking here is, do we want this mod to automatically update when we run this software again? And so I'm going to say yes to auto doors, yes to backpacks, and no to clans. It's going to start auto updating those files, and it's going to remind us that if we'd like to start over, maybe we added new plugins, we're going to want to delete modlist.txt and update modlist.txt in Oxide plugins. So it's updated auto doors, it has updated backpacks, and now it's going to tell us that all the mods have been updated, and this should close. We'll go into Oxide and plugins, and we'll see these two new files. Modlist.txt contains all of the plugins that are in this file when we ran that software previously. So again, if we add more, we're going to want to delete these two files and run that software again. And then we have update mod list, which is just going to contain the two mods that I would like it to automatically check updates for. So for example, if you had some mods in here that were not from Umod, you might want to make sure you select N or No in that software to ensure that it doesn't show up in this list. If it does, that's fine. Delete these two files and just start over. And then the next time we open up this software, it won't ask us. It'll just review that file and just start updating the mods we have listed in the update mod list.txt file. Now our server has come online, and we can see a lot more files and folders are being created here. So let's talk about Steam Update Checker. What this does is we open it up and it compares our server file's build ID with the version that is on Steam command. If the version matches, which means we have the most up-to-date version, it's going to wait 1 minute and then check again. If it detects that there is a newer build version through Steam command, it's going to close this window and it's going to activate our AutoWipe.bat. Let's talk about these two files here. If we open up Next Map, we've got our map size in there, and Next Seed has our current seed value. So I've created a brand new server. I'm going to wipe weekly, but let's say next week I want to increase the map size to 2500. Even though the server is currently running, I can go ahead and save that now. And a week from now, when I wipe my server, I don't want this to be my seed anymore. I want it to be that seed right there. Again, I'll save that. And these files do not affect our server Start.bat file until AutoWipe is activated. So we can put Steam Update Checker maybe in Windows Task Scheduler on wipe day while our server is running here. We could open this in the background. And this will just constantly, every 60 seconds, check to see if there's an update. Let's pretend that that update has come out. It's a forced wipe. It's going to kill this process here. And it's going to open up this AutoWipe file. When it does that, the AutoWipe file is going to read the next map size and the next seed, and it's going to kill our server and begin the update process. So we'll go ahead and open up this now. You can see it's killed our server. It's going to wait a few seconds to ensure that the programs have closed down. It'll wipe the server. We'll delete all the blueprints and the map files. It'll update Rust. It'll update Umod. And then it will start our server automatically. The nice thing about these files is so long as your server, if you have multiple servers, so long as your additional servers are not contained in these folders, you can, it'll kill the process that's relevant to this folder. So I have another server running in the background that's associated with a different folder, and it's not affected by this. You can see it created another file here called old.bat, and what that is that's our old Start.bat file that it kind of saves as a backup in case something goes wrong. And when this server comes online, we'll see that it's going to contain the new map size and the new seed. If you're in a pinch, you can open up or edit this Start.bat file. Can you look for this code here? And you can see that this contains all the variables that we entered in to that software. So we can see our header image right there, our server URL, our Archon password, all the ports, our map. You can also see the server seed and the world size, which are the same values that we entered into those files there. You can see our tags. And that's the demonstration for the software.